back to Art with Ms. Choate. On today's episode, what we're going to be focusing on is pointillism. So pointillism, if you guys already know, is basically just the creation of little dots to create a larger picture. So we're not doing any shading, we're not doing value, we're not creating lines with a paintbrush or a pen. We're literally just dotting our paper. The great thing about pointillism is that you can do it with lots of different mediums. Typically it's done with paint, so if you do have watercolors at home or acrylic paint, house paint, whatever you want to use, Q-tips are great, or the eraser on the back of a pencil. If you don't have any liquid paint, then markers, colored pencils, pens, literally anything, but you're just making dots. You're not going to be drawing with it. It's a lot more tempting to draw if you have a marker or a pencil rather than just a Q-tip. So for younger kids, I love doing Q-tips, or again, erasers are great. So let's get started. Pointillism can be done with a lot of different supplies. Typically you'll find like acrylic paint, or we're going to be using water-based, or markers, gel pen, pens, color pencils. All of these mediums work really well. I love using Q-tips and paint with younger kids, but as you start to get older, a little bit more experience with this process, then pens and markers work really nicely. This technique of painting, it's small dots that are distinct in distinct colors that are applied in patterns to form an image. It was created by Choate in 1886, and it was branching out from Impressionism. So I'll be showing you some images of those to show you how complicated this truly can get, or how simple it can get. You'll realize in these images that the paintings actually rely on the eye and the mind of the viewer to take the colors, and you might be using red and orange, and it creates a different color, orange, or yellow and blue next to each other, and then you're seeing some greens. So it's actually really tricking the eye and putting the dots close together or far apart to show the viewer what you want it to see. So I want you to be thinking about that before you even get started. Before you get started, I want you to have a plan. What is your image going to look like? Now, we can do a simple circle rating off of the circle, or we can do a landscape, which is an image of outside, and that's what I'm going to go with for this example. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to very lightly, like I doubt you can even see very much in the video this line. It's there for me because I know I sometimes forget what I want to happen in my drawing. If you can do it without drawing it, good for you, good, that go ahead. Otherwise draw really lightly so that way it'll disappear when you're done. And so I'm thinking a line here is land, a line here is kind of like this, maybe like water, and then I'm going to put some like roundish bushes, trees here. Remember, the further away something is, the smaller it's going to be, and the closer to you, the bigger it's going to be. So if you want a tree to look like it's closer, make it bigger. If you want it to look like it's smaller, make it further. And maybe I'll have some like round clouds here to mimic those little bushes that I had. And now you're going to go in with your supplies. So I'm going to show you in this one how you can use, if you have a paintbrush, do not use a wide one like this. That obviously will not be giving you dots. But again, this is art, so if you are like, I want to take this pointillism and instead of dots, I want to do like rectangles, well then I'm not going to tell you no, and I'm also not there to tell you no. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to start putting my dots down. Now please be thoughtful about it. Also, if you notice your brush isn't giving you a dot, you might need to go in and try to, now maybe these are getting a little big and I'm not actually caring for these, so I'm gonna switch it up. It's okay, mistakes happen. Okay, I actually like the wood of my brush better. I can go and I can fix those. This brush was probably too big. But I made it work with this. So the bigger your dots are going to be, the darker that area is going to look. The smaller your dots, the lighter it's going to look. And also the closer together you put your dots, the darker it's going to be. The more further apart, the lighter it's going to look. So that's one way of doing these dots, either with that paintbrush. I actually kind of like it really light like that. So paintbrush is one way. End of the paintbrush. I'll also show you Q-tip. Don't put a lot of water on the Q-tip because it'll start to fall apart. Just very little. You could even take a spray bottle, spray your palette first, and now you come. I like those dots a lot more. A lot more. And remember what I said about the colors next to each other? How if I put a yellow in here, if you put the yellow with the blue, it's going to start to look like green. So I'll show you that. I'll even put some green. Do play with colors. Colors matter a lot in this type of art. They matter in a lot of art, but especially pointillism. So you see even just that starting to look, and I recommend doing like one side is yellow, one side is green, one side is blue. Don't do what I just did. And you can play with how much water yours needs. We're going to continue filling that up. So that's how we do paintbrush, Q-tips. Keep going. I also want to show you markers. So with markers, it's really easy to get a dot, right? You just push. Please do not slam it down. I have a lot of students who want to slam those brushes down. They will flatten out the point. You don't want that. You're doing this gentle. Think about how far apart you want these dots. Maybe you go in quickly and you put a base. Now you can go in and switch your colors. You could even go in and switch medium. You could mix paint in here. Starting to like how that's looking. Now again, remember, if you want it to be more concentrated red in a spot, then you put a lot of that color there. The closer together the dots are, look at that, it's looking darker there. Maybe I'll do the same thing over here. Please be very thoughtful with your colors and your dots. So I really started to like blending all my things together, my Sharpies, my markers, my gel pens, my paint with the paintbrush and the Q-tips. I liked how they actually look all together, but you might like only one of your mediums or maybe only have one, and that's fine. So play with them and see where they take you. Remember, the closer together they are, the bigger, the darker it's gonna look. The further apart they're spread out and the smaller the dots are, the lighter it's gonna be. Now, remember, if you are trying to blend your colors, I recommend just putting them like on top of each other, next to each other. You can layer those dots, there's nothing against that. Or if you only have like these gel pens, for instance, that are very tiny, fine tip, when you dot it, they're very small. You could go in and make a smaller dot. That's totally acceptable for this project. Whatever you want to do with that, that's fine. Same goes for any of the supplies. You could go in and make a little tiny dot. The last thing I'll show you is just doing it in a very simple geometric way. If you don't want to do a landscape or you're doing this with a younger child, you could simply start by doing circles. So I'm going to pretend, because I'm seeing this like a landscape. I'm going to do like a sun radiating from the middle here. So you could start with a simple dot and do dots around it. This is kind of incorporated a lot of the techniques we've been doing in the past. You can start to spread them out more. And you can start to put other colors in. Remember, you can also think about pattern, because pointillism in the past was using patterns to like trick the eye. You don't have to do a pattern. Remember, the closer together the dots are, the darker it's going to look. And we can start to add other colors in, other types of markers. You know, this is a tinier dot. Play with how that's going to look. Remind, if you're doing this with somebody younger, do not slam your marker down. Gently place it on the paper with intent. That's a big thing, and if they don't know the word intent, it means that you are choosing where it's going. You're picking it. Don't just random put it down with purpose. You know where you want it to go. You know what you want it to look like. Have a conversation with your student or yourself before you start. And what do you want this to look like? Do you need to look up inspiration? Do you need to flip through a book? Did you just read a passage in a book and it described something beautiful and you want to try to recreate that? That's some great places to start for inspiration. And so I want to start to get some yellow in here. Should have had that probably already. And these maybe now I have less intent. I know my goal is to put it inside this circle I've started creating. And maybe I want a lot in the center. And it's going to decrease as it gets out. And maybe now I want to switch to some paint. Maybe you were using paint the whole time. I'm really liking how that's looking. Remember, if you have enough Q-tips, keep them separate. You can even rest them like this. I like doing that with my students. So you know that's where that one goes. And it goes back there when you're done. Otherwise, you'll be like me and your paint's going to start to get messy. You can wipe them down. That is the nice thing. That's why I let myself do it. You can even have it start to fade out. So with this one, you could just think about a circle, or you could do it any shape you want. Maybe I'll fill up the rest of the sky with this, because I like how it's fading. I had drawn in other clouds, but I don't need them there. I'm changing my mind, and that's okay. And I'm pretty happy with it. Don't forget, always sign your name. I haven't said that before, but I tell my students that all the time. Put your name right away. Oh, you can't see that. So put your name right away. Even though you're in your own house, maybe there's a couple of you making art. You want to know who did what. You should be proud of this. Take ownership in your art. Put your name on it. The last thing I want to show you is the difference. This is the quick one I did up before picking pointillism for today. And this is the one I just did on video where I took my time and I had a lot more intent and detail going into it. You can see the difference between my plan. I was thinking about mountains. I was doing the same kind of circle, star, moon, sun thing going on. Not as many points, not as detailed, and honestly, not as good looking either. So the closer together, you'll see it looks darker in those areas, and the more convincing and compelling it is. So take your time, go slowly, and even if you did something like this, you could go back the next day and make it better. Maybe you decide you can go into these circles and make them bigger. You can go in and add more dots. Okay, so please, even if you're working with somebody younger, try to have them work back in a drawing that they did the other day, because then they'll learn the things they like and the things they don't like, and that's really important when it comes to art, learning what you like, because each person is different and each person is their own artistic ideas. So take your time. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun in today's video doing pointillism, creating whatever kind of landscape, picture, abstract art shapes that you wanted to. I hope you had fun. I hope you were creative and kind of made it your own as we went. And remember, if you liked this video, please like it, subscribe, comment, pass it along. The more people that we get creating art, expressing themselves, creating joy because of art, I think the better it's going to be. For me personally, it's better that we're in isolation, but yet I'm creating every day, and that makes me happy. So do things that make you happy, share things that make you happy, and let's spread the positivity in the world. So please comment, like, subscribe, and come back tomorrow for another Art with Miss Choate. And if you have any feedback or anything you want to see me do later this week, comment below.